right. What is up, guys? I know most of you following along are here for my cancer story and my hospital horror stories and whatnot. Today is going to be something a little bit different. I've obviously made lifting videos in the past, but I just wanted to be kind of clear. I am going to be posting a lot about lifting. Hopefully, many of you are interested. You can follow along with this as well. Obviously, this is a huge part of my life and I'm very passionate about it. So I do want to document my powerlifting journey, especially now with this kind of new, refreshed outlook on everything. I've made my comeback, and at this point, it's really going even further than what I was before. So that being said, if you are staying for this video and you are coming from those other cancer storytime videos, thank you so much for watching. And for those of you who do actually care about the lifting in the first place, I thank you as well for watching. So yeah, basically, this series is called Road to 800. I've had a very long goal ever since I got with Marcellus. Many of you know him as the Swole Fesser. When I first started with him, my goal was to total 800 kg. It was supposed to be somewhat of a short to intermediate goal of mine. And obviously, you guys know I was not able to accomplish that just yet. Had a little bit of a setback, just a little bit. Today, I'm going to be going over kind of like what my next steps are in powerlifting and my goals, my plans for the future. Also going over my new program. I am still self-coaching. I was previously with the Swole Fesser, but since I got cancer, I have been coaching myself ever since I've been back. So I'm going to take you guys through my week 1. I've recorded all of it already, so this is going to be after the fact, but just reflecting and explaining the changes and whatnot. And I will be showing you guys the program up on the screen as well. For the first time in a very long time, I'm going to be training 5 days a week. I'm used to 4 days a week, or even 3 right before I got cancer because I just couldn't even take 4. The only time I think I've ever tried 5 days was my first year of powerlifting, and I only tried it for about 1 block. And me and my coach at the time just thought it probably wasn't necessary, so we cut it back out. Ever since then, I've been doing 4 days a week, and usually on the same schedule. But the reason I wanted to go up to 5 is, number one, I haven't tried it in a long time, but number two, sometimes my workouts can get pretty long, sometimes even hitting that 3+ hour mark. I do a lot of yapping too, so that's part of it, but so I wanted to do 5 days and kind of spread out the accessories and the overall workload. More sessions that are shorter rather than doing less sessions that are very long sometimes. And also for that reason, I am no longer doing an SBD day, which I will get into in this video. Obviously for the same reasons. It's just such a long session. I think they can be fun, but they can also have a very bad impact on training, especially way out into the off season. Sometimes you hit your top set squat and it doesn't go so well. And now your mentality going into the rest of the workout is not so great because you missed that squat. Now maybe you're gonna have a very little confidence going into deadlifts or even bench. So no more SBD for now. I may bring it back in the future, especially because I am adding in sumo, and usually sumo can work better with SBD, but we'll get into that later. All right, so after that pretty long introduction, let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of this video. So road to 800. So it's going to be 6 months total. Now, this could change, especially depending on whether or not I get back with Marcellus anytime soon. But for now, that's the plan. Triples, triples, doubles, doubles, singles, singles, which is pretty standard. If you're a powerlifter, this is kind of the go-to plan. It's a very long macro cycle. I don't necessarily have a meet in mind, although there is one meet in particular that I could do that would line up perfectly with this macro cycle, ending off with the last block of singles. But that's for the future. For now, that's the plan. So block 1, week 1, day 1. This is going to be comp squat, comp bench. I like to have my squat and bench earlier in the week. And yes, I do start the week on Saturday. mostly because that's just when meets are. So it's easier for those more time sensitive lifts, especially bench. You definitely want to center those around the day that you would actually peak them. And then I just put squat on the day to make it easier. And I've always done it that way. Marcellus does it this way. I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then for the dips, I also put them earlier in the week because they're very taxing. One of the more, I guess you could say, big accessory movements. So I put that earlier in the week. And then you guys can see how I pace, or you will see along this video how I pace the loads. So I do have prescribed loads for this week 1, day 1. I hit the high end of the range. So you can see the range here and then the top set. So I took the high end of the range, 200 kg for a triple, felt like an RPE 5. And then the back offs are also prescribed based on my estimated 1 rep max at this time. And it just kind of slowly progresses throughout the blocks. And then, well, actually, so for my back offs, I do the heaviest back off sets on week 3, and then week 4, I kind of taper them off. Although for this particular block, it's going to be a 5-week block. 2 reasons. Number 1, I just want a longer, I like to call this more of like a rebound block, because it's the block right after my competition that I just had, and many of you guys are aware of, just to give me more time to adjust and give me a little bit more rest and go very, very light on this first week. But usually a week 1 will look very easy anyways. So the plan for squat is to end off on the week 5 with 245 to 250 kg. Now, and that would be at an RPE 8. The plan for bench is to end off at 175 to 177.5 at RPE 8. So it's going to depend. If I can keep this momentum going, obviously this has been the fastest I've progressed ever. When I came back from the hospital, I was squatting like 2 reds for a triple, I think, the first day. And it was very hard, like an RPE 8. So I guess that being said, all of these numbers are kind of like breaking into new territory, new grounds. Now that I'm looking at it, I did not put in my hamstring curl weight. Oops. Anyways, all right. So now we can move on to day 2. As you guys can see, I have yet again tried sumo. This time around, I am treating it pretty much exactly how I treat my conventional. So I have it as the primary right now. And like I said, I'm not doing SBD anymore, so it's actually going to be on the Monday. So I'm going to rest Sunday, come in Monday, and then hit my sumo triple. And then the back offs are 3x4, which is exactly the same as how I treated my conventional. And then, as you guys can see here, I have added some ab and cardio work. And this time around, I am going to actually keep track of it and make sure I'm doing it. And also just to like manage the fatigue on it. I do want to progress it. And then 2 reasons for the abs. Number 1, I want to, actually maybe 3. Number 1, I want to perfect my bracing, especially on squat. Number 2, I find that ab work helps a lot with my low back pain. And number 3, I just want abs, to put it simply. And then for the cardio, I saw something on Matt Vena's Instagram about programming cardio and how it helped him to be able to take more volume. And also, considering my health and stuff, I think adding in some cardio could really help. Obviously, my heart and lungs have been under an immense amount of stress this past year, so I want to definitely manage that. Oh, I forgot to mention. So, pacing for the sumo, I have a goal of 237.5 to 242.5 kilo at RPE 8. That's what I want to end off at. I'm not trying to push sumo too hard the first block. I think after at least 1 block, I just want to feel it out and see, kind of just soak it all in, get all the gains I possibly can out of doing something lighter, and then start to push it a little bit more in the following blocks. Deadlift in general, I don't have to push a whole lot in training regardless. Although I do know that for my conventional, but I don't know just yet for sumo. All right, now day 3. Day 3 is just bench. It's my secondary bench day. I have a top set of 5. It's all RPE based. I don't have any ranges for that. And then my back offs are close grip 2x7. I'm adding the close grip there because it helps to, if I switch my grip up, just the movement pattern alone can help relieve some of that chest pain. because just usually I'm pinky on the ring every rep, and that can definitely, aggravate it. So just doing close grip there, because when I do close grip, there's almost no pain at all. This day feels amazing. I get like a crazy pump, super stimulating, very fun day, and it's pretty short. Again, why I want to go up to 5 days, to just get a good quick workout in and then get out of there, you know what I mean? Or at least that's the plan, as long as I don't yap too much. And moving on to Wednesday, this is day 4. This is my primer squat and my secondary, well, technically it's both my secondary squat and my secondary deadlift, but it's also a primer squat for me. So I do a pause triple. So yes, there is RP, but what's more important is I just hit the, like I said, enough, but not too much. So I got a pause triple with a 3x6 back off. I found that with this 3x6 on the secondary day, it is a lot of volume, but I guess some people do more. For me, it's a lot of volume, but it's been working wonders for my squat. And also, I have been doing my secondary squats on Thursdays, which is only 2 days out from my primary squat. And I definitely feel primed, but I think it's beating me up a little bit too much, and I go into the primary session feeling a little bit under-recovered. So I pushed it back a day, and I also do my secondary deadlift on this day. It's only 2 days after my primary deadlift, so I'm interested to see how that's going to work out, because then I have 4 whole days without deadlifting until my primary. So we'll see. I can adjust as needed next block. But anyways, like I said, I'm treating it just like my conventional. So this is what I know works for my conventional. So I'm going to give it a shot on sumo and see if the same thing happens. So I got a pause, top set of 4. And then for the back offs, I'm actually going to be doing conventional. And it's also going to be paused. And it's going to be a 2x5 at an 18% drop. And then after that, I have a 2x6 RDL. I think something I'm starting to realize with myself is, although I'm very well built for the squat, I have to be super careful with the amount of volume I do, because it can really beat up my hips, my knees, my adductors. I guess you could say I'm not poorly built for the deadlift, but I don't have a deadlift build, I guess. So, but what's interesting to me is I feel like I can take a good amount of volume on deadlift. And if I continue to feel like that, I am going to experiment with a little bit more volume on it, because why not? So I plan to play around with that definitely on the primary day first. I would probably go from my 3x4 up to a 3x5. Just start with something really small and keep upping it from there. Maybe even do a 4x5 after that. But for now, we're keeping it just the same as my conventional. And I have been doing these RDLs. And then again, you can see some abs here. I've been trying cable crunches, and then we have cardio, again, 15 minutes, 70% of my max heart rate. So obviously this is very, very little cardio. If you guys do want to start doing cardio, I would recommend starting, if you don't do any cardio at all, start very small, because your body will respond even to that small amount of cardio, which is good. You can soak up all of those gains, and then you can slowly bump it up little by little. And you can apply that pretty much to anything. That's why with the deadlifts, for example, if I want to increase my volume on deadlifts, I'm not going to go from a 2x4 and then be like, oh, I need more volume on deadlifts, and then go up to like 3x7. Don't do that. Bump it up slowly. If you do a 2x4 to 3x7, you may make a lot of gains really quickly, but you're going to have a huge cutoff after that. So if you go from a 2x4, then you bump it up to a 3x4, get all those gains, right? And then you go from a 3x4 to a 3x5, and then you get all those gains. And then you do 3x6, and then you do 4x5. You get the point. So where you'll end up in the long term is going to be much higher than if you just immediately bumped up all that volume. Then the 5th and final day. All that day is my tertiary bench. So it's going to be a long pause, something relatively heavy, just like the squat. The goal is to hit just as much to go into the primary session feeling ready and strong. And then I do a 3x4 back off. I may increase that in the future. But again, I'm just trying to manage this pec pain and not do anything too crazy. And then I added in a little more back work on this day, some cable row, I've been doing a seated incline cable fly. That actually feels really good for my pec. Makes it pretty sore, but in a good way, not in a painful way like it usually does. And then I have a close grip underhand lat pull down. That's probably my favorite lat pull down variation. It just feels amazing for me. All right, that is gonna do it for the program portion of this. Just some closing thoughts. Obviously, this is an intro block to the triples, so I'm not going too crazy. But the block after that, my goal is to PR the triples total. Maybe not each individual lift, that would be nice, but we'll see. I think it's very doable considering I don't have a gigantic cancer tumor in my chest anymore. There still is a mass there, actually. I will probably do my next episode of this series either at the end of this block or the end of the next triples block. TBD. If you guys are loving this, let me know and we can keep it rolling. But that's it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, share, and just remember, when we are weak, then we are strong. Peace out, guys.